Let me check just a second. I'm gonna let my heart rate go down. All right.
Oh, this is one of my favorite ones, and it keeps coming up every single day.
Oh, hell.
They do. There are no microchips in the vaccines.
Sometimes these are so far out there, it's hard.
I laugh at this because this is almost magical thinking.
I don't know how to address this. It's just so out there.
First of all, the government can't do anything right? So for anybody to imagine that it can carry out this mass scale of tracking, putting in high-tech microchips in vaccines, that sounds like a sci-fi movie to me. It doesn't happen.
If someone were smart enough to develop a tracker that was invisible and could fit in water and through a very tiny needle, they would be smart enough to instead spend that time and money just hacking that phone in your hand because they could get all your data and all your whereabouts a lot easier.
The other thing I've heard is that because of the microchip, the vaccine makes you magnetic because people have stuck, things that are not actually magnetic. They've tried to stick them to their arm and been like, oh, look, this thing is sticking. If that happens to somebody, you just need to take a shower. There was a lot of misinformation earlier this year that the COVID vaccine would somehow recognize one of the placental proteins and destroy and cause like the placental destruction or somehow cause infertility. And that was proven to be untrue, that there is no interaction between the vaccine and that protein. That was just one of the pieces of misinformation that was going around. And multiple studies since the COVID vaccine was introduced back in January. There have been many studies that have categorically shown that the COVID vaccine does not cause infertility. It does not put people at a higher risk of miscarriage.
COVID itself is a real risk to your baby if you're pregnant and to your future fertility.
It's not risk of vaccine versus no vaccine. It's the risk of the vaccine versus the risk of COVID. Because at this point, as it looks like COVID is going to become endemic, everybody's going to get it at some point, essentially. And if you're pregnant and you get COVID, your risk of bad things happening like preterm labor and ICU admission and, you having to go on the ventilator and you having blood clots and you dying, right? Or your kid dying, they go up significantly.
Your body deserves more credit. It is super protective of your DNA. It's separate from where the vaccine goes, hidden in the nucleus. mRNA is coded so that it does not go to the nucleus. It goes to a protein and then to destruction. And then your body makes the memory and it's done. It's beautifully simple.
The DNA vaccine, which is Johnson & Johnson, on the other hand, that enters the nucleus of the cell because it's a DNA vaccine. This has DNA, but that DNA gets transcribed into, meaning it gets converted into RNA, which is then converted into protein. But then again, that DNA is also not incorporated into the DNA of your cell. So bottom line is there is no way that the vaccines can alter DNA. That does not happen. This is conspiracy, this is myth, and this is just not true.
One of the things that we've really gotten good at as we've advanced vaccine technology is getting really simple with our vaccines. And you can look up the ingredients of these vaccines and they're really very simple. There's no other tissue in there. There's no baby DNA. These are very simple, clean vaccines that you can feel really comfortable putting into your body.
These are cell lines that are used in the testing and development of these vaccines. The vaccine itself does not have any fetal cells or any cell lines or any, again, aborted fetuses in it.
We had the big brother to COVID, SARS-CoV-1. So this is not new. This was not rushed. It was not too quick. It was just that we've done the work and we were able to respond in this amount of time. And that's amazing.
Just because it was accelerated does not mean that it was unsafe in any way, right? None of the safety steps were skipped. We did all of the required animal testing and everything that we need to make sure that these vaccines are as safe as possible. And then the other thing is, I like to remind people that you're in the middle of a pandemic, right? So basically every single lab in the world stopped what they were doing and started putting all of their resources and money and energy towards developing a vaccine for COVID. So this was essentially a concerted global effort.
Thinking that you got the actual disease from the vaccine is like saying that you can get a full cookie from eggs. It's impossible to get the full virus or the full disease from just one ingredient. You have to have all the ingredients. You have to have the whole recipe to get the full disease. And a vaccine is very much like that.
So when you're getting a Pfizer or Moderna or Johnson & Johnson vaccine, all you're getting is that little tiny piece of mRNA or DNA to make the spike protein. You're not actually getting the SARS-CoV-2 virus injected into your body. So there's no way that that could actually happen. Kids are part of the transmission chain, right? So they go to school, they pick up COVID, SARS-CoV-2 at school, or they pick it up at daycare or whatever they are. They come back home and they pass it on to, immunocompromised grandma who gets very sick and dies from COVID, right? Or they pass it on to their parents. So, not only is it about protecting kids from a non-zero risk, but also helping reduce transmission.
I can't think of a worse mistake to make than to underestimate a virus when it comes to my child's health and their future. Does your umbrella work if you can still get wet? Because my pant legs always get wet when I'm carrying an umbrella. Or do seatbelts work if people still die in car accidents? And I think that in life, we don't get zero risk. We don't get to remove all risk in hardly any situation, but that doesn't mean you don't try to reduce risk. And with the vaccines, you can greatly reduce risk.
Even if you get COVID, your risk of having to go to the hospital or dying from COVID is significantly reduced, right? And that was the entire goal. It was almost a bonus that these vaccines were also found to reduce infection as well, significantly.
We have billions of data points on these vaccines that are over 8 weeks out. We know everything we need to know about these vaccines. You have all the warnings that you're ever going to get about the vaccines. You have all the data, and the data clearly states that you are so far safer and better off and healthier vaccinated than you are rolling the dice with COVID.